Final.
Come, championship bound, baby! Woo! Big love, baby! Woo! To hear, man. It got a little crazy out there, but we made it through.
We're gonna keep stacking the day, so see you in the championship.
Bow! Let's go!
June 17th wasn't just another game, it was payback. Back on May 30th, J.C. Sheldon and the Connecticut Sun left Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson injured on the floor after a series of dirty plays that shockingly went unpunished. No ejections, no consequences, just silence. But the Indiana Fever didn't forget. So when Sheldon poked Caitlin Clark in the eye during the rematch, something snapped. That moment lit a fire, and what happened next sent a clear message. Don't mess with.
Was chippy the last time these two teams faced off too. Sophie Cunningham suffered her ankle injury in that game, but in addition to that, she actually had part of her front tooth knocked out. She made contact with J.C. Sheldon as Caitlin Clark knocks down the triple.
But what people don't talk about enough is how hard you have to work to be able to be that good. All the hours that she's spent perfecting her craft.
Retreating, firing, and hitting.
So she can do that.
On Indiana arguing the call.
I mean, step back, you're late. She almost looks you in the eye.
Clark's teammates. Sophie Cunningham stepped up and delivered one of the most satisfying flagrant fouls you'll ever see. It wasn't just retaliation, it was a statement. The Fever had had enough. If you support this squad, drop a comment below saying CC and Spicy Sophie. Because this team is playing with fire and they're not backing down. Let's go.
Can we talk about the physicality for a second? Two players on the Indiana Fever got injured last night by the same player on the Connecticut Sun, and that was J.C. Sheldon. And I tweeted about it. She was playing so reckless. I'm fine with players playing aggressive, but there is a thin line between playing aggressive and playing reckless. When you dive for a ball, you don't land on somebody's leg. She landed on top of Sydney Colson's leg, and her leg got stuck and literally twisted around. Both injuries, both Sydney Colson and Sophie Cunningham, were contact injuries.
Picture this, May 30th. Indiana Fever versus Connecticut Sun. What should have been a standard WNBA matchup quickly spiraled into a nightmare for the Fever. The game began like any other. Just two teams battling for position, but the Sun came out with a level of physicality that went well beyond competitive.
They weren't non-contact. They weren't ACLs, they weren't Achilles, they were contact injuries caused by the same player. And this kind of physicality that the WNBA they brag about. They say it's always been a physical league. That's just the heart of the it's not good basketball. And we've seen so many injuries. Paige Becker's out with a concussion. Rakia Jackson was out with a concussion. All of these injuries are contact plays. We've seen Caitlin Clark last year get chucked to the ground. We saw Angel Reese get clothesline chucked to the ground. The players continue to do it because the refs are allowing them. Why wouldn't you keep doing it if you're a physical player?
From the opening tip, the tension was undeniable. Then things took a dangerous turn. Sophie Cunningham was the first to go down after a hit that didn't look like a basketball play. It looked deliberate. The contact was jarring, too aggressive for a routine moment in the game. Not long after, Sydney Colson suffered an injury on yet another questionable play.
Her mortal enemy took out a player. J.C. Sheldon. Caitlin Clark's mortal enemy, J.C. Sheldon.
Fans, commentators, and players alike began asking the same question. What exactly was happening out there? At the center of both controversial moments, J.C. Sheldon. Sheldon was playing with the kind of aggressive edge that makes your blood boil. And here's where the college rivalry adds fuel to the fire. Sheldon and Caitlin Clark had been clashing since their Big Ten days. Iowa versus Ohio State. Every matchup was a battle, and Sheldon made it personal.
This is a reckless play. This is reckless. It is dangerous. And this angle makes it look even worse. It is dangerous. Like, Sid Colson is between her and the ball. Sid Colson is in fact between J.C. Sheldon and the ball, and she dives through her knee. It wasn't even called as a foul. It wasn't even called as a foul.
She hounded Clark on every possession, bumped her on screens, and constantly chirped during dead balls. This wasn't just about the game anymore. This was a grudge carried over from college hardwood. On May 30th, it felt like the referees were blind to everything. The officials seemed to let every hard foul slide, watching as if they were seeing an entirely different game than the rest of us. Dangerous plays were ignored, and Clark had to stand by helplessly while her teammates, Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Coulson, got injured right in front of her. No whistle, no warning, just silence. The frustration was obvious.
She just texts me. She never texts me during the game.
All right. Here is Clark splashing home a three from way downtown. Kelly escorting her back to the bench.
JC Sheldon is there on it. With her hand in her.
The Fever fought tooth and nail, but ultimately fell, 85-83. But the scoreboard wasn't the biggest loss. They walked away without two of their toughest players, and that hurt even more. The injuries Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Coulson suffered could have been avoided if only the officials had taken control of the game when it mattered. Their absence in the following matchups left a noticeable gap, and it wasn't just physical, it was emotional. You could see it in Caitlin Clark's eyes after that loss. The way she stared down JC Sheldon in the handshake line. The way she...
Third quarter we go. They're trailing by 10. Keep an eye on her and JC Sheldon. Clark trying to back her down.
Clark is okay.
Sheldon, that was Clark, hitting her in the face. Clark is upset about that. Then everybody's upset about that. Marina Mabry comes in. She decks Clark, tempers flaring on both sides.
Responded with tight, focused words in the post-game interview. This wasn't over, not even close. The Indiana Fever didn't just take a loss, they took names, and they remembered every cheap shot, every non-call, and every moment the referees stayed silent. That's why June 17th was circled in red. It couldn't come soon enough. And when it finally did, Clark was back, not just from her quad injury, but from the sting of that May 30th ambush. She had already made a statement in her return by helping dismantle the previously undefeated New York Liberty.
Take another look as we try to figure out what exactly went down. So you see her get hit in the face. JC Sheldon doesn't like that, and everybody on the team doesn't like it. Marina trying to have her teammates back, pushes her down. You see a little bit of drama all the way around. Tina Charles, Clark, and Mabry, they received technical fouls. Sheldon received a flagrant one.
Now, in only her second game back after a 3-week absence, she was locked in and laser focused. You could tell this one was personal. She remembered everything. You could tell from the moment Caitlin Clark stepped onto the court, this wasn't just another game for her. The way she looked at the Sun players during warm-ups, the intensity in her body language, it all said one thing. She hadn't forgotten what happened last time.
And then Marina Mabry comes out of nowhere and chucks her to the floor. Now let's watch this in slow motion. Here, JC Sheldon is guarding Caitlin, swipes her in the face. There's one. Going for the ball, swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin's gonna have to start wearing goggles. And then Caitlin pushes her off of her, like, why are you still in my face? Marina Mabry, bad out of hell, chucks Caitlin Clark to the ground.
From the opening tip, the tension was thick. JC Sheldon was back on Clark like glue, defending her like it was Game 7 of the finals. She was too close, too physical, shadowing every move, bumping on screens, and using the same gritty tactics. That left Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Coulson injured back in May. The entire arena could feel it, something was coming. Then, in the third quarter, everything changed. Clark was bringing the ball up the court when Sheldon stepped in to defend. What looked like a reach for a steal turned into something far more reckless. Sheldon's finger went straight into Clark's eye. The contact was immediate and jarring. Clark's head snapped back from the hit, and she instinctively clutched her face. Pain, frustration, fury. It was all written on her face as she tried to blink her vision clear. But in that moment, you knew this was bigger than the physical pain. This wasn't just a poke, it was history repeating itself. The same player who took out her teammates was now taking a shot at her and Clark. She wasn't going to take it. Quietly, she pushed back literally, and what happened next lit the entire arena on fire. After getting poked directly in the eye, Caitlin Clark instinctively pushed JC Sheldon away, a completely natural reaction when someone jabs a finger into your eye socket. Any player, any human being would have done the same. The crowd erupted, not just in shock, but in outrage.
After this, you guys, of course, the referees are going to review the play because that's a lot of contact going on right there. That's a lot of unnecessary contact. That's a lot of non-basketball contact happening during this play, right? So the 3 referees that I like to say, they got them straight out of Sephora, because I don't think these referees have ever refereed a professional basketball game in their life. They took these referees, they were at the monitor, they looked at it for, I'm not even exaggerating, you guys, like 15 minutes. 15 minutes they are watching this play over.
Everyone in the arena saw exactly what happened. Clark was clearly the victim of a dangerous, reckless play. Yet somehow the officials were about to make everything worse. As Clark stood there, clutching her eye, stunned and in pain, the referees reached for their whistles, not to penalize Sheldon for the eye poke, but to hit Clark with a technical foul. The arena buzzed with confusion and disbelief. Fans pointed to the replay screens, which clearly showed the contact, but the refs had already made up their minds. A technical foul. For reacting to being poked in the eye. It was an absurd call.
The announcers here are saying, of course, Marina Mabrey is going to get ejected because that was unwarranted. She literally came out of nowhere and chucked Caitlin Clark. There should be a flagrant one, of course, on JC Sheldon because she swiped her and hit her in the eyeball. Whether it is intentional or not, you can still have a flagrant a flagrant foul called on you, whether you are trying to intentionally hurt somebody or not. But this is what they called, you guys. This is what they called. Caitlin Clark, Marina Mabrey, Tina Charles were assessed with technical fouls on Tuesday. Caitlin, Marina, and Tina Charles. Technical fouls. That's it. Technical fouls. That's it. And JC Sheldon was assessed with a flagrant 1 foul, and no players were ejected.
That left everyone scratching their heads. Just 1 game removed from scoring 32 points in her return from injury, Clark was now being punished for defending herself against the same player, involved in the earlier injuries to her teammates. That whistle didn't just penalize Clark, it sent the wrong message to the entire league. Watching this unfold sent a chilling message across the league. Players can target Caitlin Clark with dangerous plays, and if she dares to react,
when the officials don't get control of the ball game, when they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. It's not just this game, it's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're gonna compete and they're gonna have their teammates' backs. It's exactly what you expect, right? Out of fierce competition. So I started talking to the officials in the first quarter, and we knew this was going to happen. You could tell it was going to happen. So they got to get control of it. They got to be better.
Be the one punished, but the eye poke? That was just the beginning. Because moments after Clark was hit with that bogus technical foul, Marina Mabrey took things to an entirely different and disturbing level. Clark was still recovering from the eye injury, visibly shaken and trying to gather herself when Mabrey approached. And what she did next stunned everyone watching. This wasn't a defensive move. It wasn't even basketball. Mabrey straight up body checked Clark like this was a hockey game. Not a B-made chep, sending her crashing hard to the floor. It was blatant, it was excessive. And it was completely unnecessary. You didn't have to be a basketball expert to see what just happened. It was a cheap shot, plain and simple.
So So now let's talk about Sophie Cunningham. At the end of the game, JC Sheldon is going for a fast break layup and Sophie Cunningham is running with her. And I remember in my head, like it happened in a split second and I said, oh, let's see. Let's see what happens here.
Clark hit the hardwood with force, looking up in disbelief, realizing that for the second time in minutes, a Sun player had taken a dangerous and unprovoked shot at her. Instantly, the entire Fever bench leapt to their feet. Teammates were pointing at Mabry, yelling at the officials, and demanding a count. Everyone saw it except, apparently, their referees. All anyone wanted at that moment was for someone in stripes to actually do their job.
Sophie commits a hard foul on JC Sheldon. Again, as JC Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion. Maybe I'm biased here, but I'm gonna give you guys my straight up honest opinion on this. She bear hugged her, took her to the ground. Yes, it was intentional. It was absolutely intentional.
The crowd was losing it, booing, shouting, and completely stunned that these officials were letting it all slide right in front of their eyes. On the sideline, Coach Stephanie White was beside herself, pacing furiously, screaming at the refs to wake up. She wasn't just angry, she was outraged, waving her arms and pointing directly at Marina Mabry, trying to get the message across. This wasn't a basketball play, it was targeted aggression. And yet somehow, even with all the evidence in front of them, the officials still got it wrong. They slapped Mabry with a common technical foul, the exact same penalty Caitlin Clark received moments earlier for instinctively pushing JC Sheldon after being poked in the eye.
It was, to me, payback for what was happening the entire game. But she did it in a way that she wasn't going to injure JC. She was just making it known, like, if the refs aren't going to handle it, I will handle it. We'll take care of it, but this is not what you're going to do when you come into our house. It was an intentional foul. It was a hard foul. She brought her down. But with that, you guys, JC Sheldon got up and she was ready to go. So as you guys can see in this video, a whole scuffle breaks out. Sophie and JC are going after it. Both teams are running over, trying to break it up. It kind of goes into the fan section.
Let that sink in. Clark gets jabbed in the eye, reacts like any player would, and gets hit with a tech. Mabry delivers a full body check on a player already shaken up, and it's treated the same. No flagrant, no ejection, just another missed opportunity for the league to protect its stars. Mabry body checks Caitlin Clark to the ground in retaliation, same result, just a technical foul. The math wasn't matching and everyone in the arena knew it. Coach Stephanie White didn't hold back after the game. In her post-game press conference, she laid it out plain. When the officials don't get control of the ball game, when they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long, this is what happens. She'd had enough. Enough of her players getting targeted. Enough of the silence from the league. Enough of the officials standing by like spectators while Clark and others took cheap shots. The message was now loud and clear. If the referees weren't going to protect Caitlin Clark, her teammates would.
A rare miss at the rim for Aaliyah Boston, the league's top field goal percentage shooter in the WNBA, but it's Boston who comes up with the steal and the find to Howard. Clark working on the rookie. Clark on the drive. Hang, shot too strong. There's Howard to clean up.
And Clark working off the ball, comes off the stagger.
Third year in her WNBA in terms of setting up her teammates. Clark behind the back, feed inside. Two more for Howard.
And no one understood that better than Sophie Cunningham. Sitting on the bench, watching it all unfold, she made a decision. In the final minute, with the Fever cruising 87-70, JC Sheldon touched the ball one more time. The clock was winding down, but for Cunningham, this wasn't about the scoreboard anymore. Sophie Cunningham wasn't just playing basketball in that moment. She was reliving May 30th. She was remembering the pain of her own injury. The frustration of watching Caitlin Clark get poked in the eye with no real consequences, and the helplessness of seeing Marina Mabrey body check her teammate to the ground without flagrant punishment. Every second of that brutal game came rushing back. She remembered sitting on the bench, sidelined and furious, while JC Sheldon walked around like nothing happened, and the referees let chaos reign. Now, with Sheldon driving to the basket in the final minute of this rematch, Cunningham saw her opening and she took it. No hesitation. She lined Sheldon up, stepped in, and delivered the most satisfying flagrant foul you'll ever witness. Wrapped her up, pulled her straight to the floor.
Indiana Fever fans were chanting, "Sophie, Sophie." Sophie's jersey is gonna sell out tonight. She's gonna be in the All-Star game tonight just from this one play because she was standing on business. It wasn't a dirty play. It was an intentional foul and it was meant to send a message. It turned into a scuffle and I don't think anybody wanted.
It wasn't a basketball move, it was a statement. This was justice. This was Sophie Cunningham making it crystal clear. Mess with her team, and you'll pay for it. Cunningham was hit with a flagrant 2, leading to her immediate ejection. JC Sheldon and Lindsay Allen were also tossed for their roles in the scuffle. 3 players gone, but the damage had already been done. Justice had finally been served. Caitlin Clark wrapped the night with 20 points and 6 assists, leading the Indiana Fever to a dominant 88-71 victory that felt like far more than just another win. Natasha Howard notched her 50th career double-double with 16 points and 12 rebounds, while Kelsey Mitchell added a strong 17. It was a full team performance, but everyone knew what this game truly represented. This wasn't just about beating the Sun. This was about sending a message. The Fever will not be bullied. They will not be intimidated. And they will always protect their own. The win didn't just earn them a spot in their first ever Commissioner's Cup final, it put the entire WNBA on notice. Mess with Indiana, and you're going to feel it. The Indiana Fever didn't just walk away with a win, they walked away with redemption. After that brutal May 30th clash, where Caitlin Clark was eye-poked and body-checked with barely a whistle blown, June 17th became the date that changed everything. Clark got her justice. Sophie Cunningham stepped up and cemented her status as a hero, one who doesn't just talk tough, but backs it up when it counts. Because in this league, sometimes the refs won't protect you. Sometimes the cameras will miss the dirty shots, but real teammates, they never look away. And Sophie made sure the whole WNBA knew it. If you mess with one Fever player, you mess with all of them. This game didn't just show the Fever's talent, it revealed their heart, their bond, their uncheckable loyalty to each other. When things get rough, when the whistle doesn't blow, this team doesn't fold. They rise, and that's what separates contenders from champions. That's what makes a group of professionals feel like a family. Now, with a ticket punched to the Commissioner's Cup final on July 1st against the Minnesota Lynx, the Fever are riding more than just momentum, they're riding purpose. This team has a spark, a grit, and a unity that doesn't fade when the lights go out. And if you've been watching closely, you know this isn't just a turning point, it's the beginning of something special. 22-5 is starting to look like the year Indiana rewrites its WNBA legacy. So remember this game. Remember Sophie standing up. Remember the roar of the crowd. Because the next time someone says loyalty doesn't matter in professional sports, you'll know what to say. Watch the Fever. If you support this team, if you ride for Caitlin and stand with Spicy Sophie, drop a comment below. CC and Spicy Sophie. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a moment of this historic run. Click the video on your screen now and we'll see you in the next one.